Namaskar. So how many are getting deported every day? Well, we have some information from one site, howmanydeported.com, and we're going to share some of these things with you. But more importantly, do you know that today, third or the fourth flight from US landed in Delhi? And this is a slightly different composition of people. So what's happening now is the numbers are going up. But how does the number of illegals of various countries stack up in the supposedly 11 million illegals that have been so far claimed? Because there are two things here. Trump says there are 22 million or 20 million, something like that, illegals that came in the last 4 years. And the howmanydeported.com says there are 11 million. So a lot of numbers are still being crunched, but it will give you a good idea as to which countries have the most, because once those are kind of gotten under control, life could get a little bit easier. And by the way, the numbers are going to shock you. So I have a small slide deck to share with you. Please like, share, and subscribe this channel, and also please like this video. Here we go. How many illegal immigrants have been deported from the US since Jan 1, 2025? This is the number, 34,823, and the number is 11,000 officially. I'm sorry, it's not from 1st of January. It is from the 21st of January, from the day Trump took office. So he's took oath of office. So it's like basically in the last 1 month, let's say 1 month. So 34,823. 11 million are officially there. That's what they think. Well, by deporting them, how much money has the US government saved? $477 million. So which are the big numbers? Mexico is number one with 4.8 million out of 11. So 1 in 2 approximately are from Mexico, who should be able to, once you take them to the border, find their way home. That should be the easy part. So half of them, I think, are probably going to be not too difficult. Here comes the difficult part. China, 210,000. And it is believed that China has actually infiltrated in many stratas of the society. I see anywhere and everywhere nothing but a lot of concerns about how some people are behaving very aggressively. I'm going to share some stories with you on what the 𝗣𝗍 has found thus far across the United States. This is horrific. 1 or 2 incidents is just horrific what is going on. We'll finish the numbers first, and then we will go over what are all the things that are happening inside the United States. And these are all perhaps being done by the illegals. How much does India come in at? 220,000. Remember, 18,000 is what the Trump administration has said thus far. But 220,000 have been recorded. We think that the number is double that, because the number is not 11 million, the number is closer to 20 million. So a lot of people are going to be finding their way back home, and I think India will have to bear the bill for this. The best way to do that, of course, 𝗟𝗏𝗏 and I discussed this, is to try and figure out if they can get some cruise ships to take them, and then also have a landing facility where you have to process these people before you get them to their homeland. So this would be a 2-stage process. I don't know how this is being planned, but definitely I think this kind of work needs to be done. Next, Philippines, 350,000. Big number, very big number. Next, Guatemala, 750,000. Of course, they can trek back. It's not very far. Honduras, 560,000. Again, it's not very far. El Salvador, 710,000. Colombia, 240,000. Venezuela, 600,000. Brazil, 230,000. So there you have it. So you have huge numbers, but the big percentage is in the American continent, South and North combined. So about from the 11 million, about 1 million are combined. China, India, and Philippines. The rest are all in the Latin American continent, or in North America, which is Mexico. So this is where things stand today, and when they will be deported is anybody's guess. But a lot of things are happening inside the United States where these people are beginning to act up in a very nasty way. I'm going to tell you what are all the things that are happening, and then I'm also going to show you live activity on some of the border crossings, so you can see for yourself how many vehicles are coming in and how many are going out. I'm going to show you two examples, one on the north coast, north border, and one on the southern border. So here we go. First, let's take a look at this. Now this is okay, this is pretty good. Let me see if I can make it even bigger. Yeah, now you can see it really well. Actually, I will not even be needed. I'm just going to go with this. So now I'm going to tell you, you may not be able to read it, but you will see the dots. These dots are places where some humongous activity has taken place. For example, in New York, the Fed started the first major immigration raids from the 28th of January. Then we move west. Let's take a look at what happened in Dallas. In Dallas, a massive anti-deportation protest is reportedly growing into the thousands. This is on the February 3rd. I think it has been contained now. And now the other one is along the border of Texas with Mexico, Mexican cartel terrorists opened fire, and this took place on the 27th of January. Now let's take a look at what is happening in Mexico. This I think is, let's see, this must be new. This is Arizona. Okay, I got confused. So in Arizona, the Mexican cartel spread strychnine, which is a poison, on walking trails in the United States to kill patrol canines. Canines is dogs, and this took place on the 31st of January 2025. Nasty battle. That's why he declared an emergency so that people they can deal with it in a much more professional fashion. This is a big one. Los Angeles police has lost control of large parts of downtown Los Angeles, February 3rd, 2025. My gut feeling about this is that they will probably wait. They'll cordon off the place, and then they'll have to start nibbling one small piece at a time and pulling things out. This is going to be a difficult one, and I'll keep you posted on how things are going. And then in Colorado, you remember this one, right? The Denver Drug Enforcement Agency did a bust, 130,000 fentanyl pills, drugs, and cartel-tied suspects arrested on the 28th of January 2025. The news is still a little bit old, but you will get the latest one next time we go back and look at this. The ICE raided 100 Tren de Aragua gangbangers in Aurora, Colorado. I don't know if you remember, I had written an article about this in PGurus and also did a video where these gangs have taken over complexes in Colorado. I've lived in Colorado for a few years. It's a beautiful state. And the Biden administration said that no such gangs existed, but it was busted on the 5th of February. So this is to you the what is going on as far as the number of people are concerned, and I've already shown you the various numbers. Now let's take a look at borders, and I have, you can see 6 points in Texas, and there is 1 point in Canada. Let's take a look at, let's see the big one, Del Rio Eagle Pass. This is the big one, Eagle Pass International Ridge. Now here you can see that, let me just play this thing for you. So here what it is these are incoming cars, and it goes into Mexico, and only one direction you're going to see the traffic. The other direction there's hardly anything. This is all Mexico. Now here look at the other one. I'm going to stop this one and look at this one. This is bridge line Mexico to El Paso. See here. So this is very interesting because here it says thank you, come to Eagle Pass, and this is Texas, right? So essentially what it is the direction that is going in, the less traffic is into United States and the more traffic is to Mexico. So many people are leaving the country, leaving US on their own. Either that or they got deported, they are leaving, and you can see it's a huge number. So let's stop this one and go back to what is happening on the other side, which is on the peace bridge between Canada and United States. Now here is the US bound. That means you are looking at how many people are going into US, okay, and how many are coming out, and you can see a lot of trucks are heading towards US. The right side lanes are all heavy duty things. The left side lanes are the ones that are for commuter cars and things of that nature. So this is towards US. You see this big thing here. This is the US. On the other, beyond that is United States. Now let's take a look at the other side, the Canada bound plane thing. Okay, so here you can see that there are hardly any cars going into Canada. Everybody is coming into the United States. So I don't know how to make sense of this, because one way to look at it is that there's not much illegal deportation going on, but there are a few. Not much, but there are a few. So that's how we can look at it. We also told you about how the illegals have some sort of a network where they can go and they are getting smuggled into Canada. Here is another one. Let's take a look at El Paso Stanton Bridge. This is also a major crossing point, and I'm going to give you the first one. So here, this fence here is the US border, and people who are walking out, these are all the people who are the direction that my mouse is going is towards Mexico. And I'm going to show you the next one. Again, there is not much traffic going one way or the other. Today is a Sunday, so today is a Sunday, so even those probably who are here, let me just bring this thing up. So what you are seeing in the front, this is all Mexico. My mouse is pointing it out. This is all Mexico. What you are seeing in the bottom here, this is United States. So essentially, these are CCTV cameras that are mounted on the US side, and that's what you are seeing. So that's what you have today. And like I said, the number is now, let me just go back to the first one to capture the total. 34,823 out of 11 million have been so far deported. Let's see. Some interesting observations. Karunakar says 90% US population is illegal and they want to stop illegal migration. Such a hypocrisy. Well, you're going back in 200 years, 300 years, yeah, but let's look forward. I mean, it's easy to get lost in this. And Marvin Gaiman, I hope I got it right, Marvin. We need the names of those fleeing. They are doing so. They are doing this so they hopefully won't get banned from coming back legally later. They are doing this, must be held accountable for stealing from the US citizens. Marvin, you are absolutely right. This is voluntarily leaving, because once they are deported, then their name gets onto a register, which is a do not enter register. If you go into the do not enter register, then you will never be ever allowed to re-enter. PV says, please calm down. You are an immigrant yourself. These are real families. Please don't revel in their pain and struggles. They just want a better life for their families, just like you. Where am I jumping up and down with joy, PV? I'm just giving you the numbers and I'm just showing you what is going on. I'm all for legal immigration. You don't know a lot of things that happened. When I was a student, I was going through I was studying, and for the illegals got one time complete amnesty from the Reagan administration. If you worked for 90 days illegally in any agricultural farm, you immediately got a green card, and 5 years down the road, you got a citizenship. How that, I didn't complain then. There was nothing you could do. You had your own path and the others had their own path. That's all it is. Legally entering makes it a lot easier because there is a way, there's a demand that you are fulfilling. Illegally doesn't do that. That is the problem. DJN says, hello Sree sir, I'm getting a lot of information from your show. Could there be some genuine illegals who would need to be given asylum? Look, the judges are deciding that. Everybody gets his or her day in the court. Remember the people who were interviewed in, let me just make this thing a little bit more easier. Remember those people who were interviewed in Punjab? They said that the guy said that the court actually called up Simranjit Singh Man's office and asked, did this person get persecuted? And Simranjit Singh Man's office said no. So basically, Mr. Man took 35 to 70,000 rupees from this guy, gave a letter of persecution, which he presented to the judge, and the judge wanted to double check, and upon double checking, he found out that there was no such persecution. See, after all, 𝗟𝗏𝗡𝗀 is a member of parliament, even though he is still sitting in jail. So genuineness is being determined by a judge. That is why, to make things easier, the Attorney General has said, Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security has said, those of you who leave on your own volition will not be barred. But if we catch you and release you at the border, then you will never be allowed to come back in. There has to be a way for the United States to control this illegal immigration costs also, which is why I told you the number. So far, $477 million have been saved. And I showed you the trucks. In fact, I'll be happy to show you some other crossings. There are quite a few people leaving. I mean, it's all one way. I saw 6 crossings. It's all one way. Everybody is leaving from United States back. Marvin says we want legal immigration. I'm just saying, I'm drawing a line. Legal is okay because there is a need, there's an opportunity, and you get to know what you're doing. Sandeep Saxena says illegal trafficking people funds cartels. India should be doing the same in West Bengal. The population demographics are changing, beyond recognition. More power to Mr. Prom. This is not easy, okay? Yesterday, another court struck down the DEI firings. And also, I have to tell you now, I think we can stop putting up messages. I'm just going to go to single screen. I'm also getting messages that, in fact, this is a specific case. A good friend of mine works in a hospital, very senior surgeon. And see, this is a federal government run hospital, and what they have done is they have fired many of the lower level people, and the doctors still have to do the job that they are doing, and on top of that they have to do the job of all those people who got fired. I'll give you a simple example: recording birth certificates, recording births, recording deaths. There's a lot of work that goes into all that stuff. So when they took a machete to all these things, a lot of people who were genuinely doing work, they also got dismissed. It could be probation. I'm not saying that this is right or wrong. All I'm saying is, I said this thing a few days ago also, there has to be a quick redressal mechanism. For example, the DOGE fired a bunch of nuclear scientists and they were forced to hire them back. So whatever you are doing, you should do it with a little bit more diligence, and also have a quick redressal mechanism so that gross errors can be caught. It's all I'm trying to say. Okay. Plunge cast, I am an immigrant too, legally. Only legal should be allowed into a country. When you do it illegally, it makes it harder on the legal migrants. Yeah, you get tarred by the same brush. Absolutely. Okay, this is done. Sam Taluri says, IRSA, huge fan and regular follower. Question, what about expenditure to remove all illegals? Is it cost effective to do this considering the labor laws and legal and labor LAWS, legal and logistical costs? I think what the Trump administration has said is the country that has sent their illegals, from where they came, they'll have to bear the costs. Which is why 𝗟𝗏𝗏 and I did a very detailed one that there are lakhs that need to be repatriated back to India, and that India should find a cheaper, more effective way to take them back into India. Like, for example, there are many others like Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Nepalis, Sri Lankans. Everybody tries to steal in with an Indian passport, because the Indian passport is regarded much higher than these countries. So everybody tries to get a fake passport. In fact, there's a fake passport racket that was happening in Madurai, and the guy who was the Madurai city commissioner is still sitting scot-free. He has not been touched by the government. Anyway, so my point in saying all this is that India needs to process the incoming to make sure that they're genuine Indian citizens, Indian-born citizens, not other countries. So there are other variations of that nature. Marvin Gaiman says, I grew up working on farms in Pennsylvania. I lost my job to illegals. They made more money per hour than I did as a citizen, but the company saved money on taxes and insurance. I could not agree with you more, Marvin. I've had this so many times happen to me, you know. And the thing is, we have to just find a way to, you know, move on. It is very sad what is happening. The illegals are getting a lot more money than even retirees who had actually contributed to the Social Security Administration, and still they are finding that what they were getting out of it was much less than the illegals. And there were illegals who were going in and doing round tripping also. It's just beyond the absurd. One second. I'm getting a lot of inputs. I'm just going to open it for about 5 more minutes and then I'll shut it down. Ameya Rupal says, hello Sree, should US pressure countries like Ecuador who have visa on arrival for India and illegal immigrants fly there and then use smugglers to enter US through Mexico? Well, Ameya, let me show you again one more time the borders. I'm just going to take another one from Texas, Zaragoza. Let me just show you that. I hope you can hear me now. Please let me know if you are able to hear me. Hang on a second. I'm just going to bring this thing up now. It's all in one direction. Everyone is moving towards Mexico. And let me show you another one. So see, what you should think of is, this is the US customs border, and these are the CCTV cameras, one looking towards US and one looking towards Mexico. This is the one that is looking towards Mexico. See, what is happening is Mexico is taking count of who's coming in. They need to know, right? See here again. Here it is very interesting. They have actually opened all lanes to outbound. There is no inbound at this point of time. If you notice, this is supposed to, on the right, look at my mouse. That is supposed to be inbound. Even that has become outbound. There's only one lane that is towards US. Just one lane, and you can see one car there. So let's get back to my screen. Ecuador, there was also Nicaragua, I think. They were having some funny arrangement with Chinese. Yes, US can and will put pressure on them to not allow these things, that people have to get a visa from their consulates. See, there are good things about it and not so good things about it. See, I recently went to Cambodia and I was there for only 5 days. Okay, about 3 hours on the day I arrived was spent doing a bunch of paperwork. And before that, I had to get my visa here, get like it's a paper that you get print out, and then you have to have multiple copies of that. One submitted while entering, one submitted while exiting. So it's a lot of paperwork. Whereas they could have just done a stamp on entry. We were going in legally by a flight. So it does take a lot of time to do all these things, but it's what it is. Yeah, I mean, you are right. Pressure Ecuador, yeah, it is possible. In fact, Ecuador is a very funny country. They needed a lot of farmers. I'm talking about 50, 60 years ago. They needed a lot of farmers to work on their fields. And you know what they did? They came to Punjab and picked up a lot of Sikh farmers, Jat farmers. And when along with them went the Khalistanis. So you found this odd situation that in United States, you would have this one country called Ecuador always saying yes, yes, yes to all the resolutions for Khalistan. I'm talking about 50, 60 years ago. So Ecuador is an interesting case that way. I don't know if many of the Sardars are still there tilling their land. Look, they are no different from us. They are Hindus. You guys can say whatever you want. You have a small, motley crowd. You have lost their way, and you have been losing your way for a long time. दो चार हाथ पैर लग गए तो ठीक हो जाएगा. You will be okay if the point has to be enforced home. That's all I can say. Next one. Sandeep Saxena, point well made about the business of not taking a machete but a scalpel to these policies. However, these policies are needed. DEI is becoming the scourge in the UK where I am. You know, you are right, Sandeep. So that scalpel versus machete, the government has to do it, because if Trump persists with this, there's going to be a big backlash. That's what I'm afraid of. That backlash is not Congress or Senate, it's the people. That could scar the presidency. There is a balance there, and I'm sure Trump is already climbing down a little bit and trying to see if it can be done in a more smooth manner. Elvis D'Souza, Modi got $21 million of USAID. Who is selling India? You know, India as a policy doesn't say no to foreign aid. It's what that intention is for. See, I'll give you an example, Elvis. In the southern states of India, the governments don't need, basic family healthcare things. For example, sanitation pads. You take city people don't need all these things. They all know and they are aware of this. Go to a village, okay? And a village, women are working in the fields, and for them this is something that is new. I'm talking generally, okay? I'm not trying to specifically say one thing or the other. They are not comfortable doing this thing. So you have to educate them. You have to give them the sanitary pads, and you may have to make it available at free cost, practically free of cost. So some of the agencies were doing it. I know a friend of mine who spent months in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, because when she was actually running the entire India program, and she told me the southern states said, we don't need this help, but thank you. So the states that needed help, I'm talking about 2017 to 2020, that time frame. I'm not sure if it's still going on or if the states have picked themselves up. So if somebody says that we want to help improve the basic hygiene of women, nobody's going to say no to that. So Elvis, take a look at it in a little bit more nuanced way. Look at where the money is going. That's all I'm saying. Marvin, thank you so much. Thanks for your appreciation. And Thought Provocateur says, it seems Trudeau government was complicit in human trafficking and earned a lot of illicit extortion money. Well, I don't know where that's going to end. I don't know if 𝗼𝗬𝗄𝗍𝗓 𝗍𝗓 will be able to do the kind of things that Trump is able to do in United States. Excellent work, Sree. Your streams are both educative and have intellectual rigor. Thank you so much, Sandeep. The idea is that to try and help you have a balanced perspective on things. Jyoti Yadav says, what was Mexico's interest when he did not do anything to stop illegal immigrants? Jyoti, the problem is that China has had a huge influence. I think I did 1 or 2 monologues where China was trying to game the system. What they did was they went and got a huge plot of land in Mexico, border to United States, and they were going to make that into an industrial park, and they were going to build all their big companies here. The idea was that they can essentially game the taxation system. And that's why Trump put 25% on Mexico blanket, because US knew about this for a long time. They warned them and they didn't do anything. I'm talking even from the Biden administration days. Because what happens is gaming a system starts giving you an unfair advantage. Many have told me in the United States that if the tariffs on Chinese goods are between 10 to 15%, then we can compete by manufacturing it in the United States itself. You got to, I'll tell you one thing that really shocks you, Jyotiji. China in the last few years built so much steel that the amount of, if you put the steel as a length, if you strung it out, you can make 9 trips back and forth to the moon. Can you believe that? The demand of steel for the world was nowhere close to what they did. They just overproduced the hell out of steel. That's why US has put special import tariffs on steel and aluminum, because that is China's way of dumping to try and drive everybody else out of the market. Ameya Rupal, holy, nice info, Sree, about Ecuador. Did not know that Ecuador. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Go back and look it up. So see, sometimes I have this crazy thing. I remember all these little incidents that some of the guests come and say, and I also do a fair amount of research before I come in to do these monologues. It gives me a lot of pleasure when I try to pick up a nugget that might not be relevant by itself, but when you talk as part of something else, it makes a lot of sense. DJN wants to know, the Canadian border is not as heavily monitored compared to the southern border. Why is that so? It's big, it's very, very big, huge, and people are on both sides are similar economic strata, so it's not heavily policed. In fact, I told you, right, in one of the monologues that 200,000 illegals from New York City were bused to this one place along the border where there is a dry creek. Dry creek means it's like a very shallow creek. This side you are on US, that side you are on Canada. So the buses would come and drop you off on this side, on the US side. You just have to walk into the creek and walk outside the other side. And there were NGOs from Canada waiting to give you all the stuff you needed, including papers, all the good stuff. By the way, there's an interesting story that happened during Second World War. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the Netflix stories about Winston Churchill. So one of the things is that even as war was being fought on Britain, the the opposition Labour wanted to stick it to the ruling Conservative government, whose Prime Minister was Wilt Chamberlain. And what happened was, since it was in war, they said we are going to create a war cabinet. And Chamberlain said, I'm stepping down. Let's figure out who's going to be the Prime Minister. So the Labour wanted to stick it to the Conservative Party because everyone in the Conservative Party hated a co-conservative whose name was Winston Churchill. So Labour wanted to really stick it to the Conservatives. They said the only person that we would support is Winston Churchill. And that's how Winston Churchill became Prime Minister. So he becomes Prime Minister and he starts seeing all these problems. And Luftwaffe is bombing the hell out of London. They did these sorties. If you read an author called Neville Shute, he writes very good stuff about all the Second World War era. So what had happened was that the US had given the British some money, and British wanted some fighter aircraft to counter the Luftwaffe of the Germans. Churchill goes and locks himself up in a toilet and calls up Freddie Roosevelt, and he says, can you instead of can you give us the planes and take back the money that you gave it to us? Basically, UK was borrowing money from the US. He said, instead of giving us money, can you give us planes? But at that time, this is 1941, if I remember correctly, US had signed a neutrality pact with Hitler that they will not do anything. They will not enter the war. They'll stay neutral. So Freddie Roosevelt says, okay, I can't give it to you officially. Then Winston says, I'm getting badly beaten. What do I do? I hope you understand that we both are, fellow brothers, blah, 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 that sort of stuff, democracies and all that stuff. And Freddie Roosevelt says, yeah, I know. I worry about you all the days, every day. There is one way we can do this. And Winston says, yeah, what? At that time, Canada was a UK territory. He said, what we can do is we can bring our planes, the planes that you want, to the edge of the Canadian border. You can bring horses from the other side, use those horses to tug the planes across the line and into Canada. Once there, you can drive it out and you can fly it out. That's exactly what happened. Of course, Hitler came to know of it and made a lot of noise. But you see how I'm saying, there's lots of small nuggets of stories that you get. So Canadian border is a very interesting border. 𝗪𝗏𝗏 says, Sri Lanka took China loans and look what happened. Also, they got transpronounced millions from USAID. Yes. See, Sri Lanka bet, I don't know, what should I say, bad bet, I guess. They thought that if they do organic farming, then they'll be able to export that product to the world. The only problem was, if you wanted to do organic farming, then you needed to get organic fertilizers, which was basically excrement. And they didn't have that in Sri Lanka, being an island nation. So they imported excrement from China, and looks like that was bad. And they had to return the whole experiment. The ship must have stunk all the way to the high heaven. But what I'm trying to say is, this experiment went wrong. And there was also COVID that hit. Because COVID hit the tourism industry, which is the biggest revenue generator. And all these things are like a perfect storm for Sri Lanka. That's how they went into this trouble. Also, the ransacking of the palace, it is believed, was done by left, which is basically USAID. Probably this is USAID funding and so on and so forth. Ranil Wickremesinghe has done a good job in stabilizing that, but India stepped in very nicely and have underwritten some of the loans of Sri Lanka. I think I would love for our Sri Lankan brothers and sisters to tell us how things are now. I've heard that things have improved a lot. I mean, India even sent them 100,000 pressure cookers. Things had gotten really, really bad. Sam Taluri, can such a cleanup ever happen in India, especially northeast states? It is possible. India needs to just buckle down and start doing it. Already they are confiscating all the weapons. How is it that a BJP chief minister couldn't do it and now they are able to do it? 𝗪𝗏𝗏 says, but the steel is rubbish quality. I don't know, 𝗪𝗏𝗏, but it's just that if it is rubbish, then nobody's going to buy it. But there may be some applications for this steel. I don't know what the applications are. M. Khurana says, are there any sanctuary states still protecting illegal immigrants? It's not sanctuary states as much as sanctuary cities. These are cities that were Democrat run, and Chicago, New York City, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, and so on and so forth. And there were areas of the city that were completely taken over. LA is another sanctuary city. That's what I told you, right? LA, there are sections where the police is not able to even enter. And now they are cracking the whip. Pam Bondi said that you are not going to get any more money. $9.5 billion is the bill California is footing for the illegals. $9.5 billion a year. And California today needs 40 billion handout from the United States government. I don't think they're going to give it. What's going to happen? They've already socked it to us by way of increasing our insurance premiums by 50%, 50. No change. I didn't fall sick. I didn't cause an accident. You see what I'm saying, right? And nothing happened to my house. Still, premiums have gone through the roof. It's just pain. Kishore Kelkar says, these so-called illegal migrants are doing shitty work which local Americans don't want to do. Supposing all, what was the next thing? Let me see if you have another follow-up. This is incomplete. Please complete the question, Kishore. I'll take it up again. PV. Mr. Iyer, is Trump taking 50% of Ukraine, which is already under attack and occupation, mineral wealth, ethical? Good question, PV. I don't know what to say to this. All I can tell you is 7 days into the war, 7 days into the war, I think it was 2022, right? So it was 1st March. They both sat down, Ukraine and Russia just said, you declare yourself neutral and we stop everything today. And Ukraine was about to sign the deal, and what's his name? Boris Johnson from UK flew down and told, don't accept the deal, we will help you. That is US and UK. That's where this thing has started prolonging and prolonging and prolonging. For everything that the United States threw at the Russians, they found a way out. The problem for Russians for not giving up was that first the Russian banks were taken off of SWIFT. So international banking became impossible. Then after that, the weapons like HIMARS, which is a US weapon, was given to Ukraine. They had some initial successes, and then a clever programmer from Russia figured out a way to confuse the HIMARS, and after that the HIMARS were ineffective. And once the HIMARS became ineffective, Russians had a much easier way into Ukraine. So that's how they basically broke in. And every day, the longer the war lasts, the more pain is for both sides. Both sides are not able to make ground anymore, and therefore that's why now they are finding out if there's any midway that middle of the path solution that can be taken. Just wait, it'll something will come out, because US cannot spend any more money on this. $36 trillion of debt. It's a lot. It's a lot. Thought provocateur: Canadian Liberals may defer the elections up to late 2026. I don't think that's going to happen. Ameya Rupal says, back in 2012, when I was in US, traveling on Pennsylvania Turnpike, I saw a huge billboard depicting Indian Army in bad light with reference to 1984 Operation Blue Star. Khalistanis are deeply entrenched. Well, it is believed that 60% of the truck drivers are Sikhs. Nothing wrong. But if 5% of them are allowing drugs to come in, or they're acting like drug mules, that's enough money to fund this thing. It is my belief that today the Khalistani movement is self-sufficient. It is funding itself. It's all drug money, and you have to go systematically busting all these drug things, and only then you may get some clarity on this. Yeah, I talked about this, Peter, in another monologue. It's not just Haiti. Venezuela also has 600,000 TPS. These people are supposed to have fled persecution. This from Haiti's ruler, and that one from Maduro. Venugopal Muni Venkatappa, Sri Lanka is still backstabbing. There is always that feeling for a smaller country that, you guys are not as good as us, or you are, you're acting like a big brother, you're acting like a bully. Look, the average person doesn't think that way, but sometimes these stories will make it look as if somebody is backstabbing or somebody is front stabbing. Venugopal, you need to go a little bit under the carpet to look at it. Once BJP comes to power in Tamil Nadu, it will be a totally different game. Totally different game, I assure you. That's one big reason why BJP should be coming to power in 2026. But signs are not looking very good. They have a lot of work to do. Maddie wants to say, PV, okay, I'm just going to pass that. Illegals, flat earth underground. Illegals by definition and by nature do not respect the laws, rules, guidelines and culture of the country they are invading. They are invaders, not migrants. What happens if the gold count is short? Will the news come out, and what will happen to the dollar value? OSKJ, I have a third in the series of gold planned out, and I'm going to release that in the next couple of days. Still some research being done and completed. Once we have that, you will get your answers. A lot of interesting things are happening there, by the way. Ramasubramanian Chandrasekharan says, under the pretext of families and individuals are coming to the US to find a better life, and making illegal sound legal or make it a law is the best misguided and misused meaning of liberalism. Yes. Okay, so that's all we have. Thank you so much for watching, and this was a wonderful session that I had. I wasn't sure if 1:45 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon you'll get response like this, but I'm very happy, and thank you so much guys for your unstinting support for PGurus. Namaskar.